climate engagement. And this guide is the reason why we are here. My name is Enene Ejembi. I'm a development professional, and on PACE, I serve as media advisor. My role is to enhance strategic visibility of the program across Nigeria and ensure we have the right kind of representation that we require. It's my pleasure to serve as your anchor today. Today, we gather for a conversation that goes beyond policy to action, and in particular, climate action. The conversation on climate change is no longer just about the environment. It now spans into policy, into finance, and into funding. It's about our economic future, and especially when we talk about developing countries. Let me set the scene. According to research by Agora Policy, every year since 2020 into one. At that same time, Nigeria requires $17.7 billion annually to meet our climate goals under the Paris Agreement. We currently attract less than 1/10 of that number. We can't continue like this. But the question is not whether the money exists. It does, and we know that it does. The question is whether we have the governance systems, the institutions, the processes, the reforms that will put us in a position where we can attract it and deploy it effectively. So by the time we hear from the leaders and experts in the room today, I believe we'll all have answers to that question. That is why we are here today. We are honored by the caliber of leaders in this room, ministers, governors, development directors, and the private sector, all committed to financing Nigeria's climate transition and sustainable growth. I think we all deserve a round of applause for being here today. Let's start by establishing protocol, which every other speaker will adopt and stand on. In the room, we have the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun. Thank you very much, sir. We are also expecting the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu. We also have in the room the representative of the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Permanent Secretary Olufemi Olorun Tola. In the room, we have the Head of Development Cooperation at the British High Commission in Nigeria, Cynthia Rowe. Please give her a round of applause. We are also expecting several governors and other ministers, such as His Excellency Malam Umar Namadi, Governor of Jigawa State, who will be represented by the Director General of Jigawa Invest, Aisha Mujadadi, and I believe she's in the room. Aisha, she'll soon be here. She's right here, my friend. And we also have the Commissioner of Environment and Climate, Dr. Nura Ibrahim. Please give him a round of applause. We're also expecting representatives of His Excellency Dr. Alex Oti, Governor of Abia State, Honorable Commissioner of Environment, Philemon Asonye Ogbonna, is here. Please give him a round of applause. And the Chief Economic Advisor, Dr. Friday Kalu Ohuche, who I believe is joining us online. We also are expecting His Excellency Peter Ndubisi Mba, Governor of Enugu State, ably represented by the Secretary of the State Government, Professor Chidiebere Onya, who will be joining us in person, as well as Mrs. Tenioye Majeko Dumi, who's the Director General of NCCC, the National Council on Climate Change, as well as all of you. And he has just walked in. Please welcome the representative of the Enugu State Governor. Give him a round of applause.
Representative of the Governor of Delta State.
Okay.
And then also
we also have several commissioners, honorable commissioners, representing their state governors. We have Sonny A. Ekedayen, Honorable Commissioner of Economic Planning in Ekiti State, in Delta State. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you very much for your presence. We have several commissioners, and as we go along, I will make sure that they are recognized. Thank you all for your presence. We would like to go. We have the commissioner from Osun State. Please recognize him, a round of applause. And Commissioner of Environment from Abia State. Please recognize him and give him a warm welcome. Okay. Next, we'll take the welcome address from the man to my right, Mr. Ifeanyi Peters Ugoke, National Team Leader of PACE. He leads the national team in driving governance and climate reforms across Nigeria, and he'll be welcoming you all to this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Enene. I know you agreed that we establish the protocol and all of us will maintain that protocol, but permission, I would like to re-establish those protocols because of glitches. If you don't mind, Honorable Minister, I'd like to welcome you especially for finding time out of your busy schedule to join us for this lunch. And Head of Development Cooperation, thanks again for coming in so early. I'd like to welcome in a special way the representative of the Governor of Enugu State. Apologies for those glitches at the entrance. I take responsibility for that. Let's welcome Professor Chidebere Onya, SSG, Enugu State. I also like to welcome my friends from Jigawa, the Honorable Commissioner for Finance, Nura, DG Invest. Please welcome. Dr. Nura, you're welcome. Let me welcome colleagues from FCDO, William Robinson, head of the governance team, Juliana Stayanova, Nkem Uzo, Valentine, Chris Okeke, welcome commissioners for environment in Abia, commissioner from Delta State, representative of Ekiti State government, commissioner from Osun State, our distinguished panelists, Niyi Afuye and Peju, apologies if I don't mention the other name, what's come to my head. Please welcome, really, really grateful that you're able to come. Thank you very much. All other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to this session. Thank you for finding time out of your busy schedule to join us during this session. As you well know, the challenges of climate change lives with us every day. Sometimes it is difficult for us to make the connection between what happens to us on a daily basis with climate change. However, it is a reality we face every day, and it is an existential threat for humanity. And so I will be sharing with you a high-level outline on why climate finance at this stage. For us in Nigeria to respond to these challenges of climate change, we need what? The resource to do that. So, funds are available. It is available for Nigerian state governments. It is available to the federal government. It is also available for green businesses, what we usually will call eco-friendly businesses. These funds is an enabler to build jobs, strengthen resilience and adaptation, and then, of course, secure our long-term sustainability and growth. However, the key question is, how prepared are you, if you are representing your state government, how prepared are you if you are representing businesses here to unlock these funds? Next slide. Now, what have we done under PACE is that we have identified several funds that are available out there, but have also developed the criteria, pulled all of them together, the criteria that if you're a subnational government, a state government, if you're a local government, if you are a small business, if you are a big business, what you need to do to be able to access those funds. Because for every funds, there is what? Conditionalities attached to those funds. But I think the good thing about these funds is that they are not as rigid as other funds because it's tied to growing and making businesses and building sustainability, right? So it's to help Nigerian governments and eco-friendly businesses to understand how to assess climate finance and put it to work for our communities, right? It also helps to change the way both government, public sector, private sector, and entrepreneurs think about climate action. Remember, the key word there is climate action, that we need to take an action. And there's no way you can take an action if you don't have the resource to do that. You need resources, right? And if you need resources, you must meet the minimum requirement to access those resources, right? So it also helps us to reframe climate action as an opportunity that can unlock jobs, enhance our competitiveness, and foster sustainable economic growth and development. I use the word economic development because tied to all of this is how we can use our response to climate change to grow our economy. It is an economy, right? Transitioning is an economy. There's a lot tied to it, and that's what we need to understand. Move from ad hoc projects to pipelines of bankable initiatives that attract global investments. I think that's one of the key things. There are ideas, but those ideas need to be translated into what? Bankable projects. Because investors are basically looking for where they put their money, they get their returns, right? And that structure is able to do what? Absorb the money, and the processes are clear. Now, just a quick definition, which some of you might be familiar with already, is what is climate finance? Money set aside, like I said earlier on, to solve climate problems. So some could be grant, but a significant chunk of it is actually investable funds. That means it's not dash, right? That's why you have to be prepared to get it. And you have to have a clear business plan. You have to have clear bankability of those projects. But the good thing is this, they are low interest rates. So examples are funds from bilateral banks like multilaterals like African Development Bank, Green Climate Fund, and all of that as an example. And just to say that within this program today, we will share with you an example of one of those funds, which is the Green Climate Fund. So one of them, their representative, will be making a presentation this afternoon. Now, why prioritize climate finance? Like I said earlier on, it fills budget gaps. Yeah, so where state government resources are unable to match the challenges of responding to climate change, this supports resilience, infrastructure, food security, clean energy amid limited budget. I mean, our wants are so many, right? But we don't have all the money. So unlocking some of these funds enables us to do that. But also it helps us to reduce risk, attracts private investments, create jobs, and helps Nigeria meet our own national and global commitments, including the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions for Nigeria. That's essential for us, and it's very, very crucial. But like I said earlier on, it's crucial that we see this as a business model that enables us to grow the economy, unlock opportunities along the value chain in responding to that. So how do you assess climate finance? I mean, you have to be ready. That's where the guide comes in. So the readiness assessment is crucial. You have to be able to prepare your projects, and you have to be able to make and connect with the funds. And that's where we are. That's why we're here to launch the guide. We are able to provide you the technical assistance that is required to do what? Do the readiness assessments, prepare your projects, and make connections with those funds that are available. Right? Next. So again, in managing your risk is also possible that if you're able to do this, it enables you to rebuild damaged infrastructure. So, I mean, if you think about the recent flooding in Mokwa, and if you think about the dry parched land sweeping across the northern states, Jigawa is here on the front lines. If you talk about the Niger Delta with flooding, all of that, those resources contributed with government commitments enables you build those resilient infrastructures. And of course, the returns is significant, as you can imagine. Investing in climate smart agriculture, creating jobs, enabling new businesses, stabilizing operation, improving efficiency, driving the green market. Green market is huge, but we need to unlock opportunities available in that. Again, this is just a highlight of some of the success stories with an attempt for Lagos State to access green bonds. I know in recent time they've also gone to the capital market to access funds for clean cook stoves, right? Exactly, you know. Also available within Nigeria, there are several other initiatives by SMEs, Access Bank, FCMB in investing in solar and mini grids across the country, including climate smart farming and all of other things that are available. Driving waste to wealth in Kano and other locations. Lagos has been leading on that. It's a good opportunity to learn. I also know that Abia is making an attempt in that direction as well. So, what are the requirements for success in doing this? The question for state government partners here is, are climate priorities reflected in your state development plans and budget? You know, for you to access external funds, you need to have clear commitments of how you are investing your own funds, right? That's important. So that's a priority you need to determine. Does your business model, and this is for private sector now, does your business model demonstrate profitability and potential climate impact? Very, very important. And then, of course, have you identified the right and suitable finance that you require, whether a loan or a grant or equity funding that will drive the investment you require? And like I said, all of these things are investments, clearly. So what is our message? Measure your resilience, use our climate finance checklist to enable you start. That's your starting point. Collaborate widely, partner with identified federal agencies, banks, international institutions, and other institutions. And of course, having an integration that enables climate finance into your budget. Once again, we cannot but continue to reiterate how important is that. So take action now by signing up to do the assessment. Select the funds. Develop your pilots or your bankable projects. Of course, like I said, PACE is available to work with you to deliver that. And the time to act is now. You have a huge opportunity to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, NTL. We go now into some special remarks, and we will start with special remarks by Cynthia Rowe, Head of Development Cooperation at the British High Commission in Nigeria. She's going to tell us why Nigeria struggles to access multi-billion-dollar climate finance and how we need international partnerships and the donor perspective. A round of applause.
Thank you very much. Do I need to use this?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I know that all protocols have already been observed, but I would just like to acknowledge, obviously, the Honourable Minister and also many of the commissioners here in this room who I feel I am getting to know more and more as my time here goes on. It's nice to see some friendly faces here. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, colleagues and partners. So I always start by saying it's a privilege to join here with you today, and today is no exception. I really appreciate the moments I have to be able to talk about the things that we are doing here in partnership with the the Nigerian government. And I know that I was described, or the UK was just described as a donor. For me, I've never really been a fan of the word donor. For me, it's much more about being a partner, and I think we are moving more and more to being an investor. I see our contributions to the Nigerian development scene as an investor rather than a donor. So I do like to move away from that language if I can. And this is, again, another pivotal moment in Nigeria's climate and development journey. So as we gather today to reflect on the challenges and the opportunities in accessing climate finance, I want to begin by reaffirming the UK government's enduring partnership with Nigeria, and that is one that is rooted in shared ambition for inclusive economic growth, for climate resilience, which is critical to all of this, and sustainable development. And sustainable development is something we talk about a lot, but for me that means I disappear with the best wish in the world, and Nigeria carries on its journey. So this partnership, as I said at the start, is not just about aid or technical assistance. It's about unlocking the full potential of Nigeria's people, Nigeria's institutions, and the markets to drive innovation, to attract investment, and deliver prosperity that is both green and inclusive. And we must be honest about the scale of the challenge. So Nigeria faces an estimated $20 billion annual climate finance gap. That is a figure that dwarfs the capacity of any single partner or any single donor or any development finance institution. And the gap is not just a number. It represents missed opportunities for clean energy, for resilient agriculture, for green jobs, and for protecting the most vulnerable communities from really the devastating impacts of climate change. And Nigeria's climate vulnerability, as my esteemed colleague already mentioned, is acute. From desertification to extreme heat events to destructive floods, the risks are real and the risks are growing. And while national strategies are essential, and they are, it is at the state level where development needs are greatest and where exposure to climate risks are most severe. It is at state level where climate finance must be unlocked and deployed effectively. So just imagine what increased access to climate finance could unlock at the state level. In Jigawa, where flooding has become a tragic annual reality, climate finance could be transformative. Last year, floods claimed over 30 lives. It displaced more than 9,000 people. It submerged 7,379 hectares of farmland across 90 communities. Families who lost all their belongings and saw their children fall ill in overcrowded shelters could instead be protected by resilient housing, early warning systems, and flood-adapted agriculture. So with targeted investment, Jigawa could shift from disaster response to long-term resilience, saving lives, protecting livelihoods, and restoring dignity to people. That's one example. In Kano, and every state is different and everywhere has a different type of need. In Kano, the challenge is different, but equally urgent. So the city generates 3,000 tons of waste daily. Much of that ends up in open dumps that clogs drainage systems, pollutes water sources, and fuels disease outbreaks, including diseases like cholera. So one of the things that we're doing that the UK is doing with Kano State is to turn this crisis into an opportunity. And we're doing that by supporting access to climate finance for waste to energy projects. And there is a really good story around that. I won't tell you what it is, many of you know it, but it's definitely worth looking at to see just how you can turn a crisis into an opportunity with some financing and some clever innovation. And the reason we are here today is the launch of the PACE Guide to Accessing Climate Finance. I'm really delighted. We've been supporting PACE as the UK for a long time now, and it's one of the things that I'm really proud of, and one of the things that I think is delivering, one of the many things I think that is delivering through our partners. And for me, this initiative is more than a publication, it is a catalyst. So it connects climate ambition with private sector dynamism, with financial innovation and scalable solutions. In very practical ways, it empowers states and businesses to navigate this very, very complex landscape of climate finance, which is so difficult to access, and it turns those plans into action. And for me, very much, it is the practical that delivers real-life outcomes that matters. My commitment and my focus is to go beyond launches and to go beyond talking and really turn that into something that you have in your hands that will deliver for your own people. We also know that no single actor can do this alone. So strategic collaboration between development partners, between government and the private sector is essential to mobilize climate finance at scale. And Nigeria's scale is massive. I've been here for 18 months and still every day I am astounded by the scale at which Nigeria works. And so scale is really important. And this is how we fuel green growth. It's how we create jobs and how we build long-term economic competitiveness and resilience. And coming to the last but not least ingredient for this is that we must recognize that governance matters. So climate action, effective climate action, requires integrated governance across sectors, and it aligns and needs to align with national priorities and local realities. So it requires the enabling role and the transformative role of the private sector, not only as financiers, but as innovators and as implementers. And it requires international and domestic partners to be more than funders. We must help facilitate systemic change. And we heard about systemic change this morning from the very fantastic speakers that we had setting out the vision this morning. So in closing, let me say this. Nigeria has the talent, it has the vision, and it has the entrepreneurial spirit to lead Africa's green transition. What it needs now is the right mix of finance, of partnerships, and political will. And our task ahead, together, is to bridge the climate finance gap. Yes, with money, but also with trust, with innovation, and with shared purpose. So I have no doubt that is possible, but it is up to us to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Development Director. I picked a few things from what she said, and the key one is the commitment of the UK High Commission in Nigeria, which is to go beyond speeches, to go beyond launches, to delivering impact for Nigerian citizens. Please give her a round of applause. We have present Dr. Habila Galadima, the DG, Agency for Green Initiatives, and Dr. Abubakar Musa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, representing His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Niger State. Please recognize them with a round of applause. Now we're going to go into the keynote address. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, to speak on why Nigeria struggles to access multi-billion-dollar climate finance, fiscal strategies, and policy reforms from the national. Please, a round of applause.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I Let me start by recognizing the representatives of the executive governors of Niger State, Nasarawa State, and others here present. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is of course an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to actually launch the PACE Climate Guide. And let me first of all commend National Economic Summit Group, 31st Summit. It is a major achievement. It is no joke to have sustained over all these years the effort and the commitment to a public-private sector dialogue to move the economy forward. I've been around a while, so I was at the first economic summit, and I'm happy to be here today. But more importantly, there's a big change. When I look around the room, number one, it's a packed house. And I don't think it's because I'm the one speaking. More importantly, it is because I think the young people here today recognize that this is probably the biggest opportunity of their time. And the numbers tell it. The country has changed. The country is no longer a place where you need to have connections, where you need to go and seek out a distortion. In our own time, the best way to get ahead was to look at the fact that there were distortions in the economy and go and attack one of them and do your best to have privileged access under the rules of the day. Now it's a level playing field. Everybody can participate in the opportunities of this economy under the able leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the biggest opportunity of the moment is in climate. We do have an environment that is withdrawing from empathy, is withdrawing from multilateralism, it is withdrawing for help for developing countries. The SDGs, in order to meet them, you need to spend $5 trillion per annum between now and 2030. It won't happen. We know that the $100 billion that is meant to be flowed to the developing countries for climate action that promise has been met in the breach year after year. However, climate spending in 2024, spending on climate action, $2 trillion. So that's where the money is. That's where from our own perspective, I think it was at COP28 when we saw the figures going in this direction. In the Ministry of Finance, we immediately set up a green growth office and facility so that we too could align with where the world was going in terms of financing for development and the type of growth-oriented, job-producing projects that the world was willing to finance. It's no point being on a different page from the rest of the world. So let me just say once again, it is a privilege to have this opportunity to address you today. And I'll just go through a few items that speak to the topic. We know that as we reflect on an issue that touches every Nigerian, we were reminded on Independence Day by the President that the resilience of our people has carried the nation through reforms that have not been easy but have been necessary. And because of that resilience, we do stand today on firmer ground, and as we say, with renewed hope in what lies ahead. We meet at a time when climate change is no longer distant, as we heard from Cynthia, as we heard even from our compere. It is here with us in Makurdi, rising waters displace families. Sokoto, dry soil test the patience and resilience of our farmers. In Lagos and other cities, floods turn our roads into rivers. These are not just environmental events. They shape the way we eat, work, live, and plan our future. But these challenges, there lies an opportunity to do things differently. We can build our infrastructure with foresight, diversify our energy systems with innovation, and create an economy that protects our people. Climate action is not a burden, it's an investment we need to make. An investment in jobs, in health, in education, in security, and indeed in the well-being of our children. I think I will skip the issue of the metrics of the time, the economic growth and the improving economy, because for those who want a free dinner, I think I will have to cover those topics later today. You're all invited, and I look forward to seeing you there. So let me go to climate finance as a growth strategy. The future that we are looking for begins with how we finance change. And I must say that it is very commendable that PACE UK, the British government, UKID, Ministry of Budget, and the NESG have put this all-important, very topical issue together, and this guide to accessing climate finance, which I have the honor and the privilege, along with others, of launching today. It's more than a document, it's a tool. It will help ministries, private companies, and communities access resources to build resilience and to prioritize green investments. Climate finance is not charity, it is smart capital directed towards infrastructure, innovation, technology, and people, and it will define our future, and that's why I really commend the fact that so many people have turned out to listen and to key into the future of Nigeria and indeed the world, to ensure that we can effectively mobilize the finance that's available. We in the Ministry of Finance have created the Green Growth Finance Coordinating Unit, which will align our climate investments with our fiscal realities as well as our national problems. Of course, the world is moving quickly. In just 5 years, electronic vehicles grew from 2.5% of new car sales to 22%. Solar power, once a niche, now at almost 600 gigawatts a year. These are no longer experimental items. They are now mainstream. Everybody who can switch has switched to solar. Nigeria cannot afford to stand on the sidelines. We must ride this wave. We must not be left behind. And our vision is already becoming real through a number of initiatives, a number of programs that we have embarked on. And of course, number one is an AFDB World Bank initiative, Mission 300. And that is meant to provide 300 million additional connections. People who didn't have electricity, 300 million Africans to have electricity that they previously didn't have by the year 2030. And of course, being at least 1/5 of Africa, Nigeria stands to be the major single largest beneficiary. We have the Distributed Access Renewable Energy Scale-Up as a blended finance facility supported by the World Bank, delivering renewable energy to 17.5 million Nigerians through mini-grids, standalone systems, and MSME electrification in the markets and so forth. Our NDC 3.0 is our most ambitious climate pledge, charting the path to net zero by 2060 with renewable energy, climate-smart agriculture, and clean mobility, of course, electric vehicles and CNG-powered vehicles. We have an initiative in carbon markets, unlocking $2.5 billion in capital and creating over 2 million green jobs by 2030. And it's important to emphasize that the aspect of not just growing, not just having good metrics, but the inclusiveness of giving people jobs at a time when the world is moving to greater inequality and you can even, as I said earlier, less empathy. By giving people jobs, you are taking them out of poverty, you are including them. And the green growth trajectory has tremendous capacity to provide jobs. We are embedding climate priorities into public finance management through green budgeting, ensuring federal and states reflect our transition goals. And of course, bankable projects. We are strengthening capacity at the ministries, agencies, and state levels to prepare investment-ready proposals. Some of the reasons why the money lies on the shelf is because you don't have investment-ready proposals. And to support this, our Green Growth Unit has been established, as I said earlier, to align fiscal with sustainable, fiscal policy with sustainable development. The guide being launched today aligns with our strategy to improve climate finance capacity and at the national and at the subnational level, both the federal level as well as states and even local governments. And we have pioneered, in terms of blended finance, we have pioneered green bonds to finance renewable energy and afforestation in collaboration with other stakeholders. We're now expanding this program, including at the state level, issuance by states as well as the federal, and exploring credit guarantee schemes, risk-sharing facilities with our partners to attract the all-important private sector capital. Earlier, we heard about the importance of institutions, the importance of institutional strengthening. The Development Bank of Nigeria's Green Climate Fund accreditations shows what is possible. And of course, if we want to access this funding, we have to get accredited. We have to meet the terms and conditions that allow access to these funds. Development Bank of Nigeria has done that. Well done to them. We look forward to others also joining. We will support more institutions to reach these standards while streamlining processes through the M300 Compact Delivery and Monitoring Unit to ensure that we have coordinated implementation. And that is a critical commitment that we must live up to in order to benefit in this critical area of access to energy, access to electricity. And we all know how critical that is to industrialization and modernization. We need to coordinate very, very well, and we are committed to doing that. Let me say finally that transparency is important and diplomacy is important. So we are reinforcing our frameworks to track climate finance flows and to record their impact. Internationally, Nigeria is engaging at the World Bank, IMF, AFDB, G20, and also will take a strong voice to COP30 in Brazil, will engage across the spectrum of development partners. And so, these are not abstract policies. They mean electricity for the students studying, energy for the small businesses, for the micro enterprises, jobs for young people seeking opportunity, not least in terms of the tech, I would say, not least in terms of the access to technology that it gives them, access to internet that it gives them, and of course, it gives us the opportunity to build a more resilient economy. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. You can keep clapping. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We talk very much about the Green Climate Fund at PACE, and we will have an introductory pitch here today. So it's interesting to know that the Development Bank of Nigeria is accredited to disperse those funds, and hopefully, along with the guide and other forms of support, we are primed to access funding for that. Thank you very much. Now, it appears, well, PACE stands for Partnership for Agile Governance and Climate Engagement, but I've not been very agile. I apologize. Cynthia Rowe used to be Development Director, but is now the Head of Development Cooperation at the British High Commission in Nigeria. My apologies, ma. I think it brings to mind exactly what you touched on, the fact that it's about partnerships, co-creating, investing in both countries for our future. Thank you very much for your graciousness. We would like to go straight into the launch before we come back and have the introductory session on the GCF, as well as a few more remarks and a whole panel session. So, distinguished guests, we now proceed to the official launch of the guide. And you see this beautiful table here. We'll have a little ceremonial ribbon cutting, and I invite Honorable Minister to please step up to do us the honors. I will also call on the national team leader of PACE to join, as well as head of development of cooperation, Cynthia Rowe, permanent secretary, Enugu State, SSG Enugu State, Professor Chidiebere Onya. Please join. And we have from the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, please join. The Permanent Secretary. Thank you very much. May I hand you the scissors?
Yeah, thank you.
So go ahead and do the ceremonial unveiling of the guide.
Glory of God and the benefit of all of us, including the earth. It's my honor to cut the ribbon on this guide. Thank you.
Please hold up the guide. Our photographers, please capture the moment. And if you can hold it a little bit higher so people can see in the back. Okay. We'll call on the Deputy National Team Leader of PACE, all honorable commissioners here present, representatives of state governors, please step up and join them. We also invite the COO of PACE, Moses Salami. And from the British High Commission, Chris Okeke, please join the lineup for the photo op and the launch. Sorry.
Can I come in next to you? You did not invite Juliana.
She's not. Juliana, can you please join? I didn't see you on your seat. Can you please join us? They're giving her one.
Please call the PAMSEC, Marine and Blue Economy. See.
Permanent Secretary, Marine and Blue Economy, please join. If you're from here, can you please climb the stage so you'll be visible, please? And from you, climb the stage. You'll be more visible. Juliana, please, do you want to? And then if you can hold the guide up, thank you very much.
The representative of Jigawa State Government. We also have the representative of the State Government.
Thank you very much. A pleasure. Thank you. How are you?
This is for the minister.
Who's this?
Minister.
Okay.
I was going to do an opportunity for payment.
So, let's go to the next thing. Minister is still around. See, let's go to the panel discussion.
That's what we have next. We now go into the panel discussion.
Where's my QR card?
And I will be introducing our distinguished panelists for this high-level panel session. We have the representative of the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Samson Ebimaro. Please take a seat. We also have the representative of His Excellency, the Governor of Jigawa State, the Director General of Jigawa Invest, the Commissioner of Environment, Dr. Ibrahim. We also have the representative of the Governor of Enugu State, Professor Chidebere Onya. Please take a seat. And we have Lamide Ni Afuye, the CEO of African Mini Grid Developers Association. Representing Sterling One Foundation, we have the CEO, Olapeju Ibekwe. Please go ahead and take a seat. And to moderate this session, we have the National Team Leader of PACE, Ifeanyi Peters Ugoke.
Thank you very much. I'm supposed to have a seat there. Thank you. I thought I could just stand here. But, yeah. Thanks again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Essentially, this session provides us an opportunity for these great panelists to provide insights into some of the issues that have been outlined in the presentations we had this morning, but also more specifically focusing on solutions. Because the guide is actually a solution provider, and there are opportunities. But identifying the challenges, identifying the opportunities, and the solutions that the guide provides for us. So I will maintain the introductions that have been made so that we're able to manage time very well. I would start, first of all, by asking the representative of the Minister for Budget and National Planning to, one of the things that have been highlighted is the alignment of most of these things to our national plan, budgets, investments, and trade reforms. So one of the key issues is to share with us some of the key initiatives undertaken by the government. I know a couple of them has been outlined by the Minister of Finance already, but just to reinforce some of the specifics in terms of how they align so that at the national level, we know that there is an alignment, and then the vertical linkage with the subnational government can be reinforced. So it's about planning, budgeting, investments, and trade reforms. Thank you very much.
Very good afternoon, Your Excellencies, commissioners in the House, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the press. Let me congratulate all of us for today's event, and to begin to say that the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning is doing very strategic things in terms of aligning climate action and projects with national development plan. First, let me begin by saying that first, the environment, the foundation is very, very important. We need to do need analysis. We need to know, we need to have baseline information about bankable projects, because if you don't have baseline information, then what are you banking? What is your target? That is very, very important for us. The second point is that the budget and economic planning ministry, we building capacity, working with subnational levels to ensure that, you know, the budget officers have the skill and, you know, requisite experience to align, you know, budget with projects. That is very, very important for us. One thing is to talk about finance, but what are you buying? You need to have the plans, you need to have the projects. Without that, you cannot, you know, start talking about the finance, the money. So that is very, very important for us. The other point that we are doing is that we are in the era of measurement. If you managing fund, you managing, you know, projects, you need to have clearly defined performance indicators. It is very, very important that we have, you know, key performance indicators for the projects that are being implemented, the plans that are being implemented, so that at the end of the day, you can look at what you have done so far and say, what are the shortcomings? What are what are the advantages and the disadvantages? What did you do better? What did you not do, you know, well, so that you can take corrective action plan? But I wanted to just ask to say that clearly outcome and impact is also very important to us, because it's not just a question of talking about finance. What impact are we looking at? Because if we have all this meeting and talk about money without outcome and impact, then there's no need talking about money. So we should be looking at what are the expected outcome and what are the expected impact. That is very, very important for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. Well said. From the vantage point of budget, planning, and economy, of course, data is crucial. We must have the baseline data. We must be clear about what the outcomes are before we talk about the financing. Thank you very much. And those are some of the things that the guide also provides an opportunity for subnational governments to make sure that they are well refined. So let me move to the subnationals, the states now. And I will go to Jigawa before I come to Enugu State. So again, like I said during my remarks, Jigawa State is on the front lines of serious climate challenges, especially desertification and flooding. And constantly is said that Jigawa is an agrarian economy, but that provides a very good opportunity, right? And so what has been the experience and challenges of Jigawa State in building resilience and, of course, identifying clear bankable projects that this funding we're talking about could be tied to?
Thank you, the National Team Lead. Let me stand on the already established protocol. When you said so, when you look at Jigawa State, I think we are one of the frontline states, and the state is really an arid zone virtually. You hardly, 90% is arid, only 10% is semi-arid, and it borders Niger. And what we are facing currently, by statistics now, the desert encroachment annually into Jigawa is 0.9 kilometers per annum. So it's quite disturbing. And another thing is the issue of flooding. We should not forget at the same time that Jigawa State is traversed by River Hadejia that came through Kano, entry point, Ringim local government, and exited into Yobe State through Wachakal. So we again have a vast wetland at the same time that that's prone to riverine flooding. And when this new administration led by Malam Umar Namadi came in, the philosophy of the government then is to see how would it bring succor to these climate shocks. Most importantly, the issue of flooding and the issue of arresting desert encroachment. How do we improve on the vegetative cover of the state from barely about 4 to 5% to maybe increase to like 10%? So this is the drive. So when he came in, and again, Jigawa is agrarian state, as you rightly pointed out. 80% of our population depends solely on agriculture. Agriculture is the main economic activity in the state. So the governor, when he came in, he realized that how would he try and adapt to the impact of this climate change? We started looking at how do we improve our seeds, climate smart agriculture in terms of climate smart seeds. When we said climate smart seed, we are talking about drought resistant seed. We are talking about flood resistant seed. We are talking about mineral toxicity resistant seed. For example, there are areas in Jigawa that that have iron toxicity. So we're trying to look at that. And that is why last year alone, we distributed to farmers these climate smart seeds, 30,000 millet and maize, these seeds, in order to absorb the shock of the climate change. And again, we gave 20,000 rice farmers these climate smart seeds at the same time. And Jigawa has entered into MOU with one Indian company, Contech, to come and develop a seed plant, at the same time a storage plant, so that we are trying to see how we can improve our seeds. This, when you look at the scarce water that we are facing in Jigawa State, there are certain areas that you rightly said, the northwestern Jigawa, that doesn't have waters. What do we do in terms of irrigation? There are certain dams that has dried up, so the governor identified dams that need to be rehabilitated, about 5 of them, 10 across the state, but about 5 in the northwestern zone. And also now deploy a new technique where even if you are in Sahara, you can do irrigation by, coming up with a solar-powered irrigation scheme. We have 6 now. The vision is for us to have 20,000 hectares of irrigable land within the so-called arid zone, desert in Jigawa State. And we have done about more than half now. We have done in Gumel, Megateri, specifically Lalashi. Let me not start calling the names because the names will be strange. And that is that. And again, when you look at livelihood, because whatever you do, this climate change is for real. It has happened. What do you do? Most especially women, the vulnerable segment of the community. What do you do? So the governor engaged this section of the community by providing a lot of livelihood support. If they are farmers, farm inputs, free farm inputs. If they are, those are victims of like flood 2022, they were given animals to rear, like the women, goats, sheep, rams, and a lot of things like that. And they are given, for post-harvest loss that we're looking at also, these solar-powered incubators were given, and the state subsidized solar-powered pumps for irrigation also. Over 20,000 has been distributed in Jigawa also. And again, when you look at it, whatever investment you do, if there is going to be one incidence of flood, that's the end of it. I told you River Hadeja Traverse, if you remember 2022, almost more than half of Jigawa local government were caught up. Infrastructure destroyed, farmlands destroyed, livelihood destroyed, immigration, a lot of confusion in 2022. So Jigawa went into partnership with Hadeja River Development Authority, which is a river basin development authority under Federal Ministry of Water Resources. So they have technical committee on flood that we meet on a monthly basis to review how do we ensure that we send early warnings, we dredge the river. So the Hadeja gave us 2 amphibious excavators. Jigawa bought 2 amphibious excavators since last year. So we have 4 amphibious excavators walking along that river. So far, we have dredged over 100 kilometers of waterways along that channel. Okay. And also, additionally now, Jigawa has procured additional 2 amphibious excavators because seeing the impact. Because if Yobe State are here, they will bear us witness. Now they are seeing water, where the water ceased to flow, water is flowing now. Because that is the whole aim.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. I'll come back to you.
Okay,
Apologies. We have to manage our time very well. But thank you very much for providing that outline on Jigawa's commitment. And what I hear from you is where the opportunity lies for Jigawa in climate-smart farming. Yeah, that's what you have clearly outlined. The opportunities are available, and that means scaling what the state government has already invested in to make sure that the significant chunk of the population are able to, and that's what the access to climate finance will do. So there is a commitment on the part of Jigawa State government already, but also that can be accelerated through additional financing. That's the pick. Thank you very much. We're managing time. I will come back to you much later. But let me turn to the Secretary to the State Government of Enugu State. And thanks again for coming. Enugu State Governor has this bold ambitious, and I call it audacious ambition, to grow the state's GDP from $4 billion to $30 billion within 8 years. And to do that, that means there must be constant flow of investments. And so, where does the opportunity lie in Enugu State for these investments, that some of these funds can be activated based on what you have available already? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, good afternoon to everyone. When His Excellency Dr. Peter Ndubuisi came into office, he had set out a very clear economic growth model. And we were very clear at the very beginning that for us to be able to build our economy to the level you had talked about, we had to sit down and interrogate some of the data sets we got on assumption of office. And I think what was very important is that we knew very early that the clarity was very important in developing any form of process towards bankability. So at the very beginning, what we did was set out some of the key sectoral areas that we could find opportunities. And like the Honorable Minister had talked about, most of what we look at will not be on the problem side, but the opportunities that those problems will provide for us. So we set out very early to create opportunistic bankable projects across sectors. We have presented about 50 of them around our 1st of September Economic Summit. And this set of projects were at the concept phase, because we're very also clear at the beginning that for us to do a pre-feasibility, it was going to be cost intensive, leading to any pathway towards an outline business case that we could say for sure these are bankable projects. But we presented them across transport, but what we also did was position them around taxonomies that will make funding, climate funding, or access to funding, period, possible and for potential investors or development partners that will provide technical assistance to be able to see clearly what we had in mind in agriculture, looking at the value chain post-harvest losses. We also looked at education, we looked at health, we looked at other aspects, and we set out a few things that we felt was going to be attractive to investors. And since then, we also looked at how can the state be involved in de-risking some of these projects. Who do we engage? We had started talking to a few partners, development partners, to discuss that, and also a few DFIs, AFDB, started engaging with them on that, FCDO, on how we can de-risk some of this. We also looked at energy as a very big aspect. But more important, we knew that all these things will have to sit on a legal framework. So we set out and created our Enugu State Climate Finance Policy and a Climate Action Plan. And then we also looked at how, if there were any need for a legislative backing to ensure that people felt comfortable also bringing their funds in. We also looked at the revenue stream. Was it going to require tariffs? And how comfortable was that going to be for investment? So what we tried to do was look at the institution that will now underpin this post this government's timeline, the 4 to 8 years, to ensure sustainability. So what we did initially, the first couple of months and leading up to now, were preparatory things that can help us in starting the process towards an outline business case that can ensure bankability. So in Enugu State, we have carved them now by taxonomies, and we put things that we think are attractive, and investors have been coming in. But we also understand the importance of what we're doing here today, which is accessing climate finance. But more important is the fact that we know that technical assistance is really critical to be able to build strong institutional framework that can underpin this process. So that's what we've been doing in Enugu State, and I can go into the granularity of it.
I just hold it there. That's an interesting one. You'll agree with me. Thanks so much for that. I'll come back, time permitting, to go a bit into the granular. But I think what is emerging from Enugu is the clarity of thought. which is very important in all of these things. So the clarity of thought, the preparations, which is essentially what the guide seeks to do. So it seems Enugu is a fertile ground, just like Jigawa is, for deploying of the guide and link up with financiers. So we have here private sector and philanthropy. And the conversation this afternoon has shown that, look, these are investable funds. They are no longer, like we say in our local parlance, dash. It's not free money. That means you have to be investment ready, and that's why we're having this roundtable. And so, Olamide Niyi Afuye, you lead the African Mini Grid Developers Association, and I'm sure you have tons of experience how you have struggled to navigate the challenges of deploying mini grids, and you can do a lot more with finance. So where are the opportunities, where are the pinpoints, and how can we accelerate this, especially for an energy-hungry nation like Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. I will start by saying that I always say that it's a privilege to be the dumbest person in the room so many times, and this is one of those instances. Let me start by borrowing from a quote or a statement made by the Honorable Minister where he says that solar power is no longer niche and it's now become mainstream. And I will extend that quote to say that mini grids are no longer niche, they're no longer a nice to have, they're now a fundamental part of the electrification planning and the climate solutions that any country should seek to deploy. And in fact, my previous life, I used to work with a traditional generation company. And one of the things that we're seeing is now utilities are embracing the solution as part of a fundamental part of how do they reduce their losses. So it's no longer nice to have, it's no longer people preaching clean energy. It's now a fundamental part of how do you practically reduce your losses by inviting multiple innovative solutions like mini grids and other distributed renewable energy technologies. In terms of mini grids, it's quite, the numbers are very clear, and speaking to the Mission 300 initiative, where Nigeria will play a fundamental part in closing that access gap. Mm-hmm. From where we stand in terms of access to finance, I would say I try not to speak of the challenge. I try to speak of the good things that are happening and the opportunities. Very good. And one of many opportunities that we're seeing is the evolution of multiple solutions like green finance, climate financing into our space. So I give a classic example of the infra credits backed Prado Power 4 billion naira green infrastructure sukuk, which takes multiple finance metrics in terms of climate and climate funding, as well as ethical investments. When I started my career, I think it would have been a dream to see solutions like this coming into the rural education space. But now the pendulum has swung in favor of climate solutions, and so what I would encourage us is to crowd in more investments like the InfraCredit solution, which was issued by Prado Power most recently. We're also seeing in other markets where AMDA supports, we're seeing the evolution of mini grids now becoming metro grids. That is, they're powering cities. So in a country like DRC, we're seeing cities like Goma, unfortunately, who are currently impacted by some political challenges, but we're seeing cities like Goma that are fully powered by mini grids and other distributed renewable energy solutions. So I'll stop there, and I'll give some more
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it is clearly, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. A round of applause for the Honorable Minister. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nii. And this is actually very, very interesting because, like I said earlier on, our energy gap is almost leading to acute poverty. And growth cannot be unlocked if we have energy poverty. And the potential of deploying clean energy through the mini-grids is substantial for us. And I like the point you made about crowding in all the investable funds. But the exciting one is what you talked about, the Sukuk funds, and what that could do. That means there's a whole world of opportunities out there, and I'm sure we can work together to deploy all of the TA as an enabler to get that to have communities, businesses access more clean energy for the economic growth of Nigeria. Let me come to you, Beju, Olakbeju Ibekwe. Philanthropies I prefer to call you impact investors. Yeah, plays a huge role, very catalytic in de-risking investments and enabling partnerships. So in the experience you have had, how can impact investors, philanthropy in Nigeria, and this is something that is emerging for us in Nigeria, play that catalytic role? And I will put it this way because overseas development aid, as we know, has reduced considerably. US aid is closed, UK is transitioning to 0.2 next year, and 0.3. Okay, yeah, mixed, yeah, sorry, I apologize about that. But the key question is, there is a role for philanthropy and impact investors in unlocking climate finance. Yeah, you could talk to us more about those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's my privilege to be here, and I feel very good being the only woman on the panel. Okay, for us at Sterling One Foundation, we have identified this gap. And interestingly, I'm so glad that the representative of the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning is here. For the last 4 years, we have co-convened a platform called the Africa Social Impact Summit with the United Nations System in Nigeria and the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning for 3 main goals. Number 1, attract more impact investments into critical sectors. And climate action is definitely a major one that impacts every other SDG goal. We have also sought to catalyze multi-level partnerships, public-private partnerships, public-private philanthropic partnerships, public-private philanthropic and non-profit sector partnerships, because these are critical not just for the funding, but excellent implementation when these funds are made available. I can give an example of one of our partner organizations, which is Sterling Bank. And recently, Sterling Bank just got into a partnership with Shell Foundation. And that partnership, the investment is over $1 billion that seeks to provide guarantees for commercial capital. First loss, if they give out commercial capital and it goes bad. That is an example.
A round of applause for that. It should be exciting, right?
That is an example of how philanthropic capital can help unlock climate finance, because one of our speakers earlier mentioned that we should speak to the deals. These deals are happening. As a matter of fact, there's one that is closing recently with an organization called Sunfire. They're invested in the solar power space, and we're talking about over $400 million. Or is it Naira, please? Whichever way. But the point is that this finance is available, and it is happening today. And organizations here that are interested in accessing such funds, please, you can reach out to Sterling Bank. I know they have a stand at the conference here. And it is not just Sterling Bank alone. Different other commercial capital giving institutions are also identifying philanthropic partners that can help provide different concessional finance opportunities, catalytic finance opportunities, blended finance opportunities to help us unlock more capital flows for climate action. Beyond these, we also realize there's a significant knowledge gap in this ecosystem, which is one of the issues that we seek to solve at Sterling One Foundation. Leveraging this platform. Interestingly, the one that held in July, the theme was on climate. Also, driving inclusive growth within the climate action space. We also partner with the media to share more usable information, because at times when people hear climate action, it's almost esoteric. Usable, practical information that we can use across different sectors. Because when it comes to the earth, every sector is affected. And that is what we're talking about, climate. So from education to health, every other sector is affected. Those are the 2 to 3 areas that I think philanthropic capital can support unlocking climate finance, which we're already doing.
Thank you very much, Olakweju. And for me, those 3 key points are actually very, very crucial and critical. So huge opportunity. We will be with you. We will partner with you to ensure that all of those resources are unlocked. And that's the good thing about deploying the guide to assessing climate finance, because I know that some of these things comes with terms and conditions, and people need to be prepared to be able to meet all of those. I'm sure time is far gone. I'm being given signals to wrap up. But before I do 5 minutes, thank you very much. Before I do that, I know we have a couple of people. I'll come back for you, the panelists, for a parting shot. And the parting shot will be in this way. For the sub-national governments here represented by Enugu State and Jigawa, if you have an opportunity, and this is investors, so take all of us here as investors. What would you want investors to do? That's the other one. I think for the Federal Ministry of Budget, federal government is crucial in providing assurances. And interestingly, for what you talked about, de-risking, very, very important as well. So it's also to talk more about that, because this is where all of this is built into, and that's the exciting part. And for me, you've talked about it, but just that last thing you would like to say. So, but before I do that, I don't know if there are people online. I think there are people online. If you check online, if someone wants to make a quick intervention before we'll have the presentation by the Global Green Fund, if you confirm, if there is none, then we go back to, yeah, just check if there is any, let me know, signal. If not, we would wrap up. If you don't mind, we can take 1 or 2. Yeah? Yes, we'll finish. Okay, it's not coming through. So 30 seconds, go straight to the point, yeah. You can have the microphone, please, if someone would help.
Thank you. My name is Mukhtar Abdulhamid, CEO of Carbon Assets. I would like to appreciate Peace for this wonderful guide, but apart from the guide, I'll speak from experience. Few months, just September, I was in Addis Ababa for Africa Climate Summit. We have a lot of investors, because we are project developers, we have a lot of investors that are ready to fund our projects. Mm-hmm. But the major challenge we have, they need to see a commitment from the Nigerian government. They need to see no objection letter from NCCC before they can be able to fund our projects, which for us, we've sent a request for no objection letter to NCCC since September 2020.
Okay, no worries. We are also working in partnership with NCCC.
Okay.
And so we'll take that forward. The DG is actually supposed to be here.
Okay.
Probably commitment. So just hold it there.
Okay.
Is she there now? Good. So the DG NCCC is online.
Okay.
Tenny Majekodumi, please. Oh, that's not Tenny, right? Okay. So in 30 seconds, sir, if you want to make any comment, we're waiting for the presentation by Greek Climate Fund quickly, and then I'll come back to the panelists. Thank you. But that is something we're working on, in partnership with NCCC. Abia State Government. Yeah? Is it ready? Go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Abia State Governor was invited as a panelist and he sent me as a representative. Unfortunately, the protocol did not consider that what to do. Well, I just want to say that the whole discussion has been going on well. But I want to call attention that these funds that come in, some of them come in as equities, some of them come in as angel capital and the rest of it that represent, that look at how the doing business environment functions in some of the states. And that is very key because like the Honorable Minister said, it's not all grant. Some of them are capital looking for profit. And we must also very carefully consider the issue of the macroeconomic environment that will host this kind of investments from the climate finance. I just wanted to mention that, and also to say that possibly if I had been given opportunity, I would have given a rundown of what we're doing in Abia. We are way ahead of most states in what we are doing in attracting climate finance and in also ensuring
they are way ahead.
Yeah, that we leverage that opportunity to fund the major programs we're having in Abia State in terms of renewable energy. We have been working with the climate, the institution that is hosting this program, developing our programs and how to leverage on this finance, and we are intentional about how to do it. It might interest you to know that in the next 3 or 4 months, we'll be deploying our fully electric buses, and we are building mini grids, and we are doing a whole lot to ensure that we create the environment that the initial conditions that climate finance people, when they come, they will know that we are serious about this.
All right, thank you very much, Chief Economic Advisor.
Yes.
We will continue to engage, and this opportunity is available. Thank you. Apologies, we have to close it here because we're completely out of time. And we'd like to welcome the Minister for Budget and Economic Planning. Welcome, sir. So our final parting shots. I'll start with SSG Enugu State. Your final parting shot. I'll go to Jigawa before I come back to others. Quick one, in 30 seconds, helicopter pitch.
All right. In 30 seconds, Enugu is open for investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I like that. That's the kind of thing we like to hear. Jigawa State.
Thank you very much. I feel I will follow the same lead, but my addition here is just this. I think the other speaker is just telling about Jigawa experience. We have a lot of climate actions that will attract carbon credit automatically in Jigawa State. But we're having a lot of difficulties in accessing, these carbon credit issues. These are issues. And again, is that we're looking at anything finance, climate finance, that will look at loss and damage, because it's very critical. And this is where Jigawa is looking at. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jigawa is open for business as well, but has some other issues. Issue of the risking will help. Pedro, over to you.
Sterling One Foundation is interested in supporting state governments to unlock climate finance.
Very well.
So please, doors are open. We're ready to support all your renewable energy solutions. Thank you.
Neil.
From where we stand, our members, amongst the 300 million people that will be electrified under the Mission 300 initiative, our members stand ready to power about 120 million of that. And what is required is over 2 billion in commercial capital, with a huge chunk of that coming from Nigeria. So what is needed from our standpoint is the state governments to continue to come to the table, the federal government to continue to come to the table. And I'll close by saying policy alignment plus partnership leads to bankability. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the Permanent Secretary, your last shot.
Thank you very much. The question you raised, if I have a cathedral of development partners here who are ready to support me, what will I do first?
Yep. Investors
first and foremost, I'll give them my plans and priorities. Very good. Thank you very much.
Very good. And on that note, I'd like to thank my distinguished panelists for that inciting conversation. Time is never always enough, but I think we've had an opportunity to touch on the core issues, and the conversation continues. But I think the most important thing, take that step, do the readiness assessment, and determine where you are. And all of these opportunities will be unlocked. On that note, thank you very much, distinguished panelists. It's been a pleasure moderating the session. Yes, we'll take a picture. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, please join. Thank you. Thank you very much for that great panel. As we settle down, we will take a presentation that takes us from all these discussions we've had around policy, the scale of the issue, into an actual funder who will talk to us about the Green Climate Fund. And he's online. So we welcome Marcus Marr, Senior Specialist, Green Climate Fund.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Please cue Marcus Marr.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Fantastic. Excellencies, colleagues, Congratulations on a successful launch of the guide and on the very important event taking place. Thank you very much for inviting the Green Climate Fund to the event. I would have liked to be with you in person, but I have to send my regards and do this presentation online. As the Green Climate Fund, we are the largest climate fund in the world right now. We have spent over $15 billion in the last 10 years on climate projects all over the world. Our fund has been set up by the UNFCCC to be the main financial instrument serving the Paris Agreement, mobilizing funding from the developed countries to invest in low carbon and resilient projects in developing countries. Our main goal is to support countries like Nigeria to implement their transition to a low emission and climate resilient society, especially implementing National Determined Contributions, the NDC. Congratulations, Nigeria, on just launching your 3rd edition, and the GCF stands ready to support Nigeria and its ambition. The GCF is also the idea behind it is to serve as a hub of the climate finance landscape. I was mentioning we have invested over $15 billion, which in itself have mobilized twice the amount from private investors, other public investors to those projects. So we're not only investing our money, but also mobilizing additional capital. In doing so, we work very closely with national focal points, our designated authorities. And in this regard, I'm happy to report that for Nigeria, this is the National Council for Climate Change, with whom we're working very closely together. Our main goal is to support Nigeria and its ambition, and we stand ready to support the country and have many opportunities currently available for the country and its partners and stakeholders. We're ready to deploy our readiness program, which is one of the largest technical assistance programs globally, to help, for example, Nigeria to transform its NDCs and NAPs into actual climate investments and programming, to develop bankable projects, specify, assess feasibility and others, but also to build the capacity of national institutions to mobilize climate finance on their own. One of our particular goals is to mobilize the private sector to unlock climate finance needed in addition to public investments. And we are standing ready to deploy guarantees and other instruments to give comfort and take the risks off the private sector to invest in climate action. We have a very strong priority this year and next year to improve the access of developing countries to the GCF, and therefore improving significantly the way we work and also the efficiency of accessing GCF resources through the National Designated Authority, the NCCC, and accredited institutions, of which you have already the Development Bank of Nigeria accredited to the GCF, and NSIA very close to being accredited to deploy our financing. And of course, above all, I have heard many examples that this is not just a financial transaction, but our goal is to actually reach the most vulnerable people and support communities to meet their adaptation and resilience needs. But we don't only deploy technical capacity building and institutional support, but we also invest in large-scale projects in 8 sectors: energy, access and generation, low-carbon transport, buildings, cities, industries and appliances, forest and land use, agriculture, health, food and water security, infrastructure and ecosystems. And so our vision is to serve you better and serve the national needs. And therefore, I can only congratulate you on the event today where you came together and also launched the guide to assess your vulnerabilities more clearly and be able to articulate them to the GCF and others. And by that, mobilizing and identifying investments by the private and public sector to meet those or to overcome those vulnerabilities, develop national programs, national platforms to mobilize large-scale investment into those projects with efficiency and assuring impact in everything we're doing. And therefore, we're very happy to partner with multiple partners from Nigeria, amongst them PACE, who has been really instrumental in launching this guide and helping us meeting the partners and finding investable projects in Nigeria. I was hoping to get one or two questions, so I leave it here, colleagues. If you have any questions to us, we're here. Please don't ever hesitate to contact me. I'm the country coordinator for Nigeria, so please just drop me a mail or send us a line, and I'm happy to explain any of those points in much more greater detail. And I also invite you to reach out to our country authority, the NCCC, who has been nothing short of spectacular in working together with us, and they are your first point of contact in Nigeria for accessing the GCF. I'll stop here, and any questions, please let me know.
A round of applause. Thank you very much, Marcus. And it's great to see that the Green Climate Fund is coordinated in Nigeria through NCCC. And with that, we will segue into remarks by the Director General of NCCC. Is she online with us, and can we cue her? Or if she has a representative in the room authorized to give her special remarks. The Director General of NCCC. Is she online? She's not with us, so we will move on. We have in our presence the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, and we'll ask him to give us his remarks. Please make him welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone, all participants, Cynthia Rowe of the UK, the acting PAMSEC, and distinguished participants. I really wanted to come and just listen to part of what is certainly a very interesting topic, and I knew that my senior brother has been here, Wale Edu, and who launched the, but having come here now, requested to say something, but just to appreciate all of you for participation in the wider Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and particularly this sub-team. The National Economic Summit Group have proved transformational in terms of policy. I recall last year there was even a suggestion by someone that if we can have an African Economic Summit Group, because the opportunity for private sector participants, development partners, governments, and as well as many interest groups to sit, share ideas, interrogate policies, have been transformational. I said earlier today when I spoke, the kind of bold, risky measures that were taken by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wouldn't have been possible without a broad stakeholder support, like the ones that we received from all partners here, people here, and the private sector, because it was very supportive when the private sector marketed that we needed those reforms. And therefore, we appreciate all, and we appreciate that this is not tangential to it, but literally central to it. And especially given the fact that the full spectrum of climate financing maybe is just unfolding, particularly for a country like ours, where the most horrendous drivers of conflict were climate conflicts. Lake Chad used to be as big as the Caspian Sea, over 400,000 square kilometers, but it has shrunken to literally under 10,000. And among other things is maybe absence of climate financing then, or absence of climate thought process in the way that is reckoned. And maybe there are other Lake Chads in the horizon if nothing is done. The Sahelian problem is pretty much a climate change problem, where large populations who cannot find water have to move from one place to the other, mostly from the north of Sahel Africa towards the coastal areas, increasingly towards the coastal areas, because even the places. So these are really, this is maybe at the heart of it in terms of what can be done. But because of the scale of the challenge and because of the spectrum of what constitutes climate financing, there is need for skill sets. And luckily, many groups, including UK Knife, UK and Stallion One, have been providing support, as well as many other development partners, because moving from the challenge to a project can require specialized skills that will ensure that all the ingredients are in place. And luckily, again, it opens up opportunities for all, particularly in Nigeria, where we have 3 tiers of government: local governments, state, and federal, because all across the country, all are hardworking men and women who are victimized by a climate challenge. From the Ogbia woman who, despite oil production, in fact, the oil production in her community has made life more difficult for her, because the water bodies she relies on for fresh water is contaminated. And maybe despite abundance of pools of water, they are soaked in hydrocarbon that she has to spend kilometers looking for water. And so her agony is not different from that of a Fulani woman who also maybe has to walk 7 kilometers, 10 kilometers to a well. And these are all climate-related issues, which incidentally and interestingly, a lot of funding is being made available. But from the challenge to the funding requires skill set, collaboration, and cooperation such as this. So we are very, very pleased with this, with what UK Knife and Stallion One and all the partners. And in the ministry in particular, we have in this year a 21 billion naira project preparation fund, just to cooperate with ideas and opportunities so that we can begin to generate projects that can reduce the lead times for project evaluation by prospective investors. I congratulate you and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and thank you for the cooperation and collaboration we've enjoyed with you. I'm sure the federal team have engaged with your office extensively. We are now at the end of the event, barring lunch, which sometimes is the best part. I don't want to stand between you and lunch, but we will like to apologize to the DGNCCC. Apparently she was online and had to go for another meeting. So Tenny, we are sorry. I will welcome the Deputy National Team Leader of PACE, Titi Fakoya, for the closing remarks. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Nene. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the rich conversation and for staying engaged. What we launched today is straightforward, a guide that helps us move from talk to implementation. The checklists don't replace your plans. They help you organize them so that funders see credibility and teams know exactly what to do. And so for the state governments, the questions are simple and practical. Do we have a functional coordination unit with a clear mandate on climate finance? Are our laws, policies, and sector strategies aligned and reflected in the budget? Can we tag, track, and report climate spending with timely procurement and audits? Do our teams have the skills to design and deliver bankable projects end to end? Are citizens, private sector, women, and traditional leaders involved in decisions? And for businesses and BMOs, the ask is also clear. Is there a sustainability lead and a business-level climate strategy? Are we compliant on ESG with audited accounts and cash flow clarity? Can we prepare bond-specific proposals and feasibility and report results? Are we building partnerships with banks, value chain actors, communities? None of this is theory. It is what lenders and investors check before they invest money. So the next steps within 90 days are this. Step 1, please complete the checklist, states and businesses, with evidence. Identify your gaps. And then step 2, go on to convert these gaps to a short action plan. Finally, prepare one fund-ready concept note with an evidence pack and iterate on feedback. And do please remember, inclusion remains non-negotiable. When women and communities are part of the work, projects are stronger and last longer. On behalf of PACE and NESG, thank you to our ministers, governors and their representatives, private sector and partners, and I am asking you to please enjoy the rest of the summit. Madam Anko, over to you.
Thank you very much, Deputy National Team Leader. We are now at the end of this event, and you made it what it was: insightful, engaging, interesting, and I think we have some clear takeaways that we can execute going forward. So thank you not only for being here, for participating, but also for staying all the way to the end. We have lunch, and it is served in the Oriental restaurant.